Hello, everybody. My name is Kashawn Hopkins. I'm an instructional technology specialist from Oklahoma Public School Resource Center, and today I'm going to talk about Jamboard. I'm also joined here with my colleague here. I'm going to let him introduce himself.
Hello, I'm Kurt Bernhardt. I'm the Director of Technology for OPSRC, and Kashawn and I make up the tech team here.
Yes, we do. And you can reach us at techteam@opsrc.net. Additionally, I got some slides over here. So if you want to follow along, you're very welcome to over there. I'm going to read that out since it's case sensitive. So it's lowercase t, period, ly, / lowercase g, the number 1, uppercase H, and the number 2 on here. And I forgot to check, but you can see my screen, right, Kurt? Yes, thumbs up. Okay, cool, awesome, great, awesome, cool. So for those who don't know what Jamboard is, it is Google's tool on here that is really great at just kind of brainstorming ideas and sharing content on here. I have a wonderful example on here, and Kurt, you might actually recognize this because we did this once upon a time, way back in the before time. I want to say of February 2020, if my brain's remembering correctly. That might be wrong, but we had kind of like an ed tech group meeting on here, and we got a wonderful opportunity to share some ideas. You can even see at the name of the Jamboard up here is what is important in education technology, and we had a bunch of educators just kind of share their ideas out of these little sticky notes here. So you have the opportunity to share text on here on these little colorful sticky notes. You have images that you have access to that you can put in here. And this is not just limited to this space as well. You can switch the windows. So if I change to the next frame, you can see a different frame where people can write on here, which is fantastic because, you know, sometimes people aren't the fastest typers, but they're wonderful with the pen on here. So this works really nicely with like apps as well. So if you have a nice little tablet, nice little pen, you can write a bunch of your notes and things down on here, and you can still add in those icons and images as well. And all of this is, I think, a really strong crux of this is the fact that all of this is collaborative. Like you can do this all at the same time while everybody's sharing this space. So it still has that kind of like, you know, Google Workspace functionality in here. And it looks like we're kind of putting a similarities differences list here over VR and AR. So a very nice little list going on here with a couple of these lovely icons here as well. And you know, we could put together a nice little board here. It looks lovely. Awesome. So that is so you can have an idea of what Jamboard is about. A nice little way that you just get those ideas in front of everybody and focus in on just the ideas that people can share on. And I just love this tool because of the fact that you can just bring everybody into a space and just kind of value the things that the ideas and perspectives and background that they can bring in here. And so hopefully you can see where you can use this in the classroom as well. All right, as usual, I want to make sure that I'm valuing everybody's time. So to keep us on schedule, I got it over here, what we're doing. I'm going to share my objective and talk a little bit about technology integration. Even though I do this for all my tech talks and the idea is still basically the same, I really love doing this part because it sets kind of a foundation on things we should focus on no matter what technology that we're going to be putting in. So I have those up there. Next is my tool review in ISTE standards. And so I try to tie this up together. I talk specifically about the tool and how it ties into a couple of these standards as well. I have a tool showcase, which is what I'm going to spend the majority of the time just showing you how easy it is to just log in and start doing some stuff and get your people connected into there. So at least the training portion, the cost that comes with introducing this piece of technology in there, I don't think it's necessarily all that high, and I'll kind of walk you through it here. Once I'm done with the showcase and laying down that foundation as well with the overview and the ISTE standards and the technology integration, I try to bring it all together at this part where I invite you to just imagine what this tool would look like in your classroom. And I try to give you a couple of applications with that. And at the very end, I like to share all sorts of links in the form of goodies, which is what I call things that I just found in my research that I thought would be useful as extension activities or activities to just revisit anything that I've talked about in my tech talks, because I talk fast, I know I do sometimes, but there's no way I'm going to cover everything that you could possibly do with Jamboard in there. I'm going to try. I know it's in vain. I'm going to try it out, but I like to share some resources for you to explore. And then I'm going to invite you to fill out an evaluation and answer any questions that you might have. So without further ado, let's jump on in. All right, let's start my objective. After this training, teachers will be able to integrate Jamboard into their classroom to help students organize information, key piece there, and help them achieve their learning goals. Do not forget this. No matter how shiny a piece of technology is, no matter how wonderful it seems, do not forget the results that you're trying to achieve here. And that can come in the form of learning goals or teaching students certain skills that are going to be useful no matter where they're at, like those 21st century skills, being creative, critical thinking, just being able to collaborate, definitely a bunch of that. Don't forget what we're doing this for. And to kind of help a little bit with that, I try to ask the question, how to integrate technology? Because there are a couple of frameworks that you could use for that. That way that you can intentionally design something to get the intended results that you want. In this case, I like to recommend the SAMR model. It's not the only model out there, but it is a model that I personally feel is pretty good and very flexible, and you can jump right in and start using some of this. And so the idea is that the way that you introduce a piece of technology and use it in your classroom or any educational setting here can kind of fit in these categories on here. And it's not just limited to a certain step. It could fit in multiple steps at a certain time. It just depends on how you decide to use it. What's your comfort level with it? So at the lowest stages, we have substitution, where you use technology as a direct substitute for something you're already doing. The augmentation step, which is you take advantage of certain features of it to enhance parts of your classroom. We got the modification step, which allows you to build a task entirely around this tool. And then finally, the redefinition stage, which is you're using the tool and creating a task that wouldn't be possible without it. Now, I try to encourage people to work at the modification and redefinition step here, because that's kind of the transformational steps according to the framework. But if your comfort level is just, okay, I just want to use this just to make life a little easier for me, you're at the substitution phase or the augmentation phase, that is perfectly fine. Like I said, it's all about your comfort level and just seeing what works with your students in your classroom, because who knows, this might work for one classroom with one set of students and not be successful with another set of students. It's all about kind of knowing your audience there. Let's talk about what you're here for, which is Jamboard. So first of all, a little bit of a definition so you can share it with your friends. What is it? I say it's a digital digital collaborative whiteboard. In fact, it does kind of work nicely with a whiteboard. If you have a whiteboard in your classroom, if you're still using that, awesome, because Jamboard will be a fantastic little tool that you can already have a bunch of applications for. On top of that, I think a temptation definitely when it comes to Jamboard is using it as a teacher-centered tool. But if you put this in the hands of your students, you can see a lot of value and a lot of benefits in that by making that investment, by putting that power into the students, like giving them the strength to teach them how to use this and use it as a way to build ideas and value the opinions of others. It's I think that's the real value when it comes to introducing Jamboard in your classroom. Speaking of which, what can it do in your classroom? A couple of things I'd like to point out here. Like I said before, great for collaborative brainstorming. I really like these sticky note features. It brings a little bit of color and it kind of emphasizes, certain ideas, allows you to do that. And you can enter wonderful images in there as well. You can do some Google search or pull them your own resources there. I'll show you how to do that a bit later. This is browser and mobile friendly. So if you're working on a Chromebook or you're working on an iPad, you can download those lovely apps and just take advantage of these features on here. And then finally, one I would like to spend just a little bit of extra time on is its opportunity to build digital citizenship. The reason why I say that specifically on here because of the fact that if you invite a bunch of people to edit on a Jamboard, everybody has the power to add things, to subtract things, to modify things. And, you know, if your students are at a certain maturity level, they might take advantage of some of that power. So I'm going to say right now, I'm looking straight at the camera when I say this, I'm going to say right now, PSA, before you introduce this tool to your students, make sure to lay down a very good classroom management plan. Make sure that the students understand what the expectations are. Because this is a very easy tool, I think, in some aspects to kind of manipulate it in a way. But I think you can get so much out of this if you just kind of teach them this is the way that we behave in this digital setting, and try to model some of those behaviors. I think this is so wonderful that. So yeah, I just wanted to put that out there. As well. And I even have some resources to help you out if you're still kind of feeling uncomfortable, or if you're like a first-time teacher or something like that. And this is something that you're like, yeah, this is great, but also I don't want to mess this up and have students do stuff that they shouldn't be doing in class. So I'll show you, I'll try to get some help on that. And then finally, where do you access it? Jamboard.google.com. Of course, if you are in Google, I might be able to just do it from here. And you go up to that top right-hand corner 3x3 button where it says Google Apps. You got to scroll down probably a little bit. But that icon that's like a little D symbol that says Jamboard, that is where you want to go. All right. I will get back to this. Just one last slide before I do the showcase is I want to tie this up into some ISTE standards on here. I want to make sure that I'm hitting those requirements in there and make sure that you have something as well. And so if someone's like, hey, why are you using Jamboard in your classroom? You can say, well, it's doing all these wonderful things for my students, but also here's some ISTE standards that you could take a look at that's connected to it already. You might be able to see different ways, different other standards that connect to it, but I think the obvious ones are here, which is digital citizenship, for sure, that I've mentioned a second ago. You definitely want them to engage in behavior that would be great if they're posting content and all that good stuff on there. Also, I think it's a great communication tool in there, just being able to take a bunch of ideas and parse meaning out of it or make connections, because once you start putting things up there visually in front of students, they will kind of naturally make some of those connections in there. And if they don't, you can use discussions to kind of pull them together. So there's some really nice ways that you could take advantage of letting students visualize the information there. So just another engagement tool. But of course, I think I would argue in my humble opinion, the biggest standard it hits is the global communicator standard there. It allows your learners to connect to each other. I think this is really great for like small groups, or if you're starting out like a project and you want some students to just kind of like ground floor work together. I think it's great for that. You can examine issues in multiple viewpoints. So this gives everybody at the table an opportunity to say something, even the students who are a little quieter. This will just give them an opportunity to engage in a way that feels a little bit safer for them to kind of put their ideas out there. And then finally, it's an ability to contribute constructively in those teams. So like I said before, this worked great for small groups, for projects. You can use this as a kind of like a full classroom discussion just to kind of get those ideas going, which I'll mention a bit later. But for right now, let me show you, let me kind of open the doors here a little bit and show you around for Jamboard. So I'll come back to these lovely slides a bit later. Next is the old Jamboard. Once you're here, you can access any previous Jamboard. I've made lots of messes on here, and yeah, I think that's perfectly fine. But if I want to start my own Jamboard, I'm going to go to the bottom right-hand corner. I'm going to click that lovely Google Plus symbol that says New Jam. Let's get jamming. Sorry, I couldn't resist. And you're given this lovely blank space where you can get creative on here. In fact, for anybody that is here in the room right now, you're very welcome to join on me if you want to add to the jam. I trust everybody that's here. So I'm going to go show you really quick how to share out your Jamboard, how to get people connected here. So you're going to want to go to the top right-hand corner, click that blue plus button here. Actually, let me switch this so you can see something very important that I need to do. Oh no, okay, hang on. Let me go back to Jamboard and then switch to my business account and start a new jam. There we go, because there is something that I do want to kind of point out here that will only show up on there. So I'm going to click the share button, the blue one. It's going to pop up here, and you can share with people or groups by typing in their information. You can pull them up on there. That's great. Or at the very bottom, you can get and share a link down here. Now, when I click on that, it gives me this link, and it does mention that this is restricted. So if I want to change the permissions of this, which might be something you got to do, I'm going to click on where it says, excuse me, restricted. and switch it to either my network, so only the students in my own network, or if you want this to be open to people outside of your network, you'll have to click on anyone with a link. Additionally, on top of that, on the right side of that same row there, if you click on where it says viewer, you can swap it from viewer to editor. So these are definitely things you should keep in mind because of the fact that when you share these out, you might run into these little bumps. Like if someone goes to your Jamboard and it says something along the lines of this page that says access denied, that means they are not in your network and you need to change that permission on there. Additionally, if they go over there and they're not able to interact with your Jamboard, you need to make sure that they are an editor. So this is very important. I'm spending a little extra time on this because of the fact that I've run into trouble before where I've run across those issues, and I don't want that happen to you. So I'm going to throw in the chat real quick for anybody who likes to join me on here. There we go. Hopefully I've done that correctly, and you're very welcome to join me as well. Okay, other things to show off before I show off these lovely Batman tool belt down here of Jamboard stuff you can use is top left-hand corner. I'm going to click on Set Background here. I'm going to click on that. And this is a way that you can switch what your students are going to start with. We got some lovely dots here. We have these index card lines, which is so wonderful for practicing handwriting for some people who are into this. And then we have the blue graph on here for anybody that needs graph paper, or people who like to draw. We even have a gray graph version of them. So black and white, this a little bit easier on the eyes. We got blue board, we got blackboard. You can even add in your own images if you wanted to start with a template as well. So very useful. Now, that only applies to one slide at a time. By slides, I mean, if I go to the top middle part of my screen here and click the right button to create a new frame, you'll notice that this one is white, this one is blue. So you'll have to change them individually if you wanted to do something like, give everybody in your classroom their own slide to work with. So keep that in mind. All right, let us get into, one last thing to mention. Before I jump into that. Top left-hand corner, don't forget to retitle your Jamboards. That way that you don't have a Google Drive filled with Jamboards called Untitled Jam. It's real easy to do. Just click where it says Untitled Jam and give it a name. TechTalk Jams. So simple. That way, easier to find. Okay, what am I doing on time? 13 minutes? Great. Let's keep the train rolling then. Let's talk about our arsenal down over here. On the left-hand side, I got this lovely toolbar. I'm going to click on the pen tool. That's probably where you get a lot of the magic. And you can click and drag and get some lovely stuff in here. That is also the same tool that you would use like on a tablet. So all of these same tools that are here are basically the same ones in the app versions of it as well. If I click on the pen tool again, while I'm selecting it, you also have other options. You got markers on here. You have this lovely little highlighter on here, and then we have a little brush. So beautiful, so majestic. And you have a couple of colors on here. So not crazy robust, but it's glad that the options are there that you can switch that up. And of course, if you have a pen tool, got to have the erase tool. You got to be able to undo on here. Speaking of which, there is a undo button up here. You can use Control-Z and Control-Y as usual to do undo, redo options. So keep that in mind just in case. Additionally, we have the select tool. There's nothing for me to select right now, but I will be messing with objects in a minute. So I'll come back to this one. Fourth tool down is this sticky note tool. I love this tool. I think this is just a really cool thing to click and take advantage of. You get a little pop and you can put in some information in there. Note, very similar to kind of, I think it's like Twitter that does this, but the more text you have on there, you can see that there's a little bar that's filling up in here. So there is a maximum on here. So try to keep in mind, you don't want to put like a whole bar of text. Otherwise you'll have a sticky note with text falling out of it. And so you have a nice little yellow sticky note. And if I want to, I can change the colors of it. You got a couple colors in there, or you could just do none. That's fine. It's perfectly fine to have a no color sticky note on there. I'm going to go with blue since it's my favorite color. Yeah. And you can do multiple ones. So smiley face stuff. It's real easy to just dump a couple in there. And you can see that they're kind of formatting themselves a little bit there. So I can click and drag these and move them around really easy. Jamboard, it's kind of picking up on the context in here. So that way I don't have to always go back to the select tool to jump in there. But just kind of keep that in mind. If you're not already currently using a tool, you can click and drag these and move them around. Or, let me make that a little bit bigger. I can get the pen tool and then make a little drawing on it if I'd like to. So these tools can interact with each other a little bit if you'd like it to. Just to kind of be a little explicit about what I'm doing here, when I'm using the select tool and clicking a sticky note, I can click and drag it, or I can drag the corners out to make this a little bigger. I can also click the top left-hand corner and rotate the symbol. Very nice, adorable. Or I could click the top right-hand corner to get some extra options on here as well. So simple things like duplicate and delete, and adjust the order on when it pops up here. Okay, next thing is the add image button. I'm going to click on that. And you have a couple of options on here. You can upload something personally on here. That works quite nicely. You can go to URL and paste things. You can take a picture, which this isn't going to do because I'm already on here. You can do a safe Google search on here. So that probably seems like the best thing to put down a dog on here. Oh, so adorable. Let's do this lovely German Shepherd this time. Or you could pull things from the Google Drive or Google Photos. You have tons of options on here and what you can just pull from here. Oh, great. And now I have a dog on the Jamboard. He's jamming with me. So good stuff. Additionally, we have just simple shapes. We have circles, squares, triangles. You got arrows. Let's do an arrow here. Whoop. And if I want to, it's a little bit context sensitive. So when I'm clicking and dragging this arrow, you can see on the top left-hand corner, I can change the color and the fill color here. So if I wanted a nice little blue arrow that's filled in with black ink, I can have that. So keep in mind that you do have those options if you just kind of click around on those objects there. All right, two more tools here. I have the text box, which I can click on and then click and drag. And now I can type in message. Ice cream. I guess I'm hungry. There isn't lots of text options. Like this isn't like a full text editor. The idea is just to get information on there. So you can do little basic stuff like go up to the text color and make some changes, or you can adjust the size or the alignment on here, but it's not super robust. And you know, that's for the purposes of Jamboard, it's all right. And then finally, something I don't think I had mentioned, but I think this is a great tool that you can use if you're still doing remote learning as well, because there is a little laser pointer icon at the very end. If you need to specify, if you just need to bring everybody's attention on here, you're very welcome to, and it's very nice that you can do that. So this tool, you know, really all they need is just some kind of device that will be able to access the Jamboard on here. And so you can do some of that. So really nice. One last thing that I do want to point out is at the top middle part of my screen, I can click on where it says 1 out of 2 to expand the frame bar on here. Ooh, I got somebody on there. And you can see it's really nice because of the fact that like if a bunch of people are working on the page, you can kind of see what other people are doing. So really nice to have some of that. But yeah, I'm going to click expand frame bar on here. And this is a way that you can see all the slides at the same time. So if people are working on other slides, in fact, I see Kurt on there. So Kurt, could you go to slide 2 for me? You can see what people are looking at on their screens as well. Yep, there he is. Cool. There's 2 of them on there for some reason. That's cool. But at the very least, you can see the slides as well. And I can even see a little bit of the work. I see a preview of what he's working on, which is really great. Otherwise, you could use this tool to add frames on here or delete or duplicate items as well. Awesome. Thank you, Kurt. Appreciate that. Additionally, one last thing, I believe it's open on a Jamboard. Oh, no. Okay. No, sorry. That was something else. Oh, top right-hand corner, if I click on these 3 dots that says more actions, you can download this as a PDF or a JPEG. You can delete this, make a copy, or you can click and see version history, which is nice because if you have a bunch of changes and you're like, we didn't do this in our class before, you can always restore those versions on here as well. So just something to keep in mind. Oh, cool. Hey, I got a llama on here. Thank you, llama. All right. Cool, cool, cool. So hopefully you're like, oh man, this is a great tool. How do I get this into my classroom? Yeah, if you already have Google account set up, if you're already using Google Classroom, this stuff is really easy to just dump in there as well. So keep that in mind if you're already kind of a Google Classroom type situation that you have here. With my remaining time that I have here, I have about 5 minutes, I'd say, on here to keep this under 30. I want to use a little bit of this time to talk about Jamboard applications on here. I want you to imagine, what would this tool look like in my classroom if you haven't already? And I'm going to use the SAMwork model to kind of make sure that I'm covering my different bases here. So an example of a substitution style activity would be, just working problems in front of all of your students. This works like a digital whiteboard. So even if you don't have access to a physical one, which this would work great on if you already have a smart board, but if you don't, you now have a whiteboard that you have access to that you can just share with your students and they can see you work problems out in front of them. I think that's a great substitution activity for that. But of course, I want to invite you to put this power in the students' hands, like I said before. An augmentation style activity would be to introduce a topic and have students brainstorm. You can say, hey, here's a picture of what we're about to talk about today. I want you to go on a Jamboard and just start putting sticky notes on what you think this thing is. So something like that. Or what does this remind you of? Just invite your students to actually engage in your classroom here. But in terms of creation, I think that comes in the modification step. I remember a magical time where like we would have to do presentations on like physical poster board that we'd have to buy. They would like open it up and fold it out, and you would have to like draw on it and like print out pages and glue on it and put it on there as well. Let's bring a little bit of that back. But in the form of the Jamboard, you can have them create a digital poster board and fill it with lovely images they find on the online, or shapes and text. Just have them combine all of those different pieces of media and present some information on there. I think it's great for that. And then finally, redefinition stage right here. I recommend that you get students in small groups, just kind of break them down. I feel like it's a little bit more manageable when you're having students kind of working in these smaller groups here. And the example that I use here is have them debate ideas on a topic and then organize their best arguments to show the class. Because like how I've mentioned before in other tech talks, whenever you have information, make sure that you don't keep it to yourself. You want to design it in a way that you're sharing it with other people. You're getting that information. That information is being more activated when it's shared with other people and can be kind of molded and changed and modified and consumed. So there is just a handful of applications, and I'm sure there are so much more that you can get out of just using the tool and figuring out how can this apply in these different situations and these different things I want to teach. Okay, 2 more minutes. First of all, thank you so much, everybody, for joining me here. I really do appreciate you listening to me talk about these technology tools. I get so excited about them, and then I run over time, which is what I did in my last recording on here, but this is probably the good one on here. But I'm going to spend just a little bit of time sharing the last few of my slides here. We have a page dedicated to Jamboard goodies. There's so much stuff that was really easy to find. I recommend, if you don't check out any of these, check this first one up here, the 5 tips first day of Jamboard. I think Mason City Schools put out a really good video, not only kind of going over the basics of Jamboard, but the very first thing they talk about is, here are some things that you should do when you're introducing Jamboard. And it doesn't necessarily have anything to do with Jamboard, but it's just really good tips, I think, on just introducing technology in a way that, feels safe for you and feels good for the students as well. Something I don't think I had mentioned, but if you looked at my Jamboard, it was a mess, and that is fine. Like especially for the elementary teachers, they're probably like, yeah, I know a thing or two about messes. But the fact that, when you're sharing your thought process, it's a messy process sometimes, and that is okay. And you can help teach how to organize some of that information. I think Jamboard is a great avenue for that. So anyways, I'll leave this page to you. I also have a page dedicated to the SAMR model on there if you're interested in going more into that. And then finally, another big thank you. You've made it to the end. Thank you so much. Awesome work. Just a few things I want to point out on this page, though. We have a link to my evaluation on here. Please take a moment to fill this out. I'd really appreciate it. I've just read through a couple of these earlier today, and it just filled up my heart because I was like, oh, people are actually enjoying this. This is great. This is case sensitive, so I'm going to read it out. Lowercase t, period, ly, slash, lowercase g, g, z as in zebra, uppercase k. And that's for the evaluation. Very short, just a one-page, couple of clicks and you're done. As a reminder, my name is Kashawn Hopkins. I'm joined here with my technology director, Kurt Bernhardt. Together, we make the technology team, which you can reach out to us at techteam@opsrc.net. I have a link to the slide, or I'll do you better. You could go to opsrc.net/techtalks, because if you do, you get access to all of this. You can register for my future Tech Talks. I'm going to talk about Stormboard next week, and oh boy, oh man, that's going to be a great tool. Next, you can suggest a future tech tool. So if you're looking on this page and like, I don't see X tool, and I use that tool all the time, and I think it's amazing, please share that tool with me. You know, I might be able to do it in the next Tech Talk. And then finally, oh man, we got Coggle down there too. We have this wonderful list, this little catalog of all sorts of goodies on other Tech Talks that I've done before. They have the videos and the slides on them, so be sure to check that out. And you know, spread the word, share it, share all this stuff. I want this to be shared. I want as many eyes as I can, getting access to the tools and transforming what's happening in their classroom. But for now, I'm out of time, so I'm going to say one last time, thank you so much, everybody, and I hope you all have a wonderful day. All right, I'll take any questions.